Hey guys, how's it going? A little while ago I asked you guys to give me some suggestions about what to talk about in my video. A friend of mine suggested that I talk about the difference between storytelling in novel writing and script writing. So I'm going to be talking about that today. There are, I would say, a lot of differences between the storytelling of novel writing and script writing. One notability would be the format, but I'm not really going to go into that because I really wanted just to talk about the more in-depth things. I like to talk about format and finding characters and stuff in my blog, and that's not something I would want to do in my videos. I'll start off with novel writing. Novels are a writer's dream. You can literally write anything that comes to mind that creates your world. A lot of my teachers call this prose or poetic writing. I like to say that you're using SAT vocabulary words to describe pretty much what's going on in your story. You're using your words to describe movement, what the person's feeling, what they see, what they hear, pretty much anything that's going on around them. So I would say descriptions are very heavy in novels. Just reading a page from The Hobbit, you can kind of understand how much novel writers value descriptions. Some novelists want you to know the extreme details of the specific tree that you're looking at with the character. For me, I'm not like that. I like to leave the imagination up to the readers. When they see something like I'm gonna go on another story. There's a story called Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I think one part of the when they were talking about the wardrobe, it was like a plain wardrobe, something that was like standing, enough room for a child to fit in, to hide for hide and seek. But it didn't really get into like the extreme details of it. It didn't say like there was scratching on the wood. There wasn't any like etchings or design that is specifically needed to have. I mean, don't get me wrong, some novelists really get into that, and I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I'm not really into that kind of thing. I kind of just like build the world, and then whatever it looks like is up to you. So another awesome thing you can do with novel writing is add backstory to your characters as they come in. That doesn't happen a lot in movies. I would say I think there's only a few good movies that are out there that's done it right. The books that I know that really does this are written by Jane Austen. She has been the author that I struggle the most with reading because she does this frequently. Every time a new person comes in, she talks about their history, their family history, what brought them to where they are in this point of the story. When she talks about a house or an estate, she explains the history of the estate, who owns the estate, and how many hands it's changed from. I think at the time period that she was writing, it was more okay for that, but I think now a lot of people are just, for instant gratification. They kind of just want, okay, this is the character, minor details about the character, and then we move on and continue on with the story. It really has to be done right. I would say I haven't read a story yet that's done it wrong. I think the authors know what they're doing when they bring in the character and they explain it. Unfortunately, in film, with the screenwriters, they kind of think, oh, well, we can introduce this character, and since nobody knows who this character is, let's give the audience a little bit of their backstory. One notable film that did that was Suicide Squad, which really, really pissed me off because I know that nobody knows the history behind a lot of the characters because not everybody reads the comics. It took away a lot of the film. It was very long, drawn out, and then by the time we got to the action part, everybody was just kind of like tired of it. We were like, you should have just done this in the beginning. Like, just introduce the people and then move on. Don't like show their backstory. If you want to go into script writing, keep that in the back of your mind. When you're introducing characters, keep your backstory introduction to a minimum. Another storytelling technique in novels is actually knowing what the main character is thinking or feeling. This is something that you don't really see in movies because when you're watching a film, you only know what they're thinking or feeling if they're voiced like in dialogue or in voiceover. Otherwise, you'll just see the character sitting pensive like this and then like going off and doing something because like they made a decision. And we don't know what their decision is, but they do. So in novel writing, you get to know what the decision is. You get to know their process on how they figured out what they're going to do with the challenges. I like that. I tend to write in first person point of view. I've actually have not been writing in first person point of view in my short stories because I kind of wanted to get the practice in third person objective and subjective. I think I've been just doing a lot of subjective third person. It's really, really hard for me to write like that because I really love writing like through the person, through the character. I love just saying what they're thinking and how they're feeling. So this kind of writing that I've been doing lately has been a challenge for me to be able to explain a character story through like an objective person or through a subjective person, because subjective is like you know what they're thinking and how they're feeling. Objective would be like you just kind of you know what they're feeling because of what you can see. It's kind of like writing screenplays. So I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm talking about. Mallory's tears rushed down her cheeks like a coursing river as she watched her father drift slowly out of consciousness. She felt as if the world was falling out from underneath her. How can she live without having her father? With that writing sample that I just gave, it explained like how her tears are rushing down her cheeks. You can imagine it like tears rushing down her cheeks like coursing river. Her father slowly drifting out of consciousness. So you can imagine her father laying in bed and his eyes are closed and like you can just see like him taking his last breath. And you know what she's feeling like because I wrote the world is falling underneath her, so she can hardly hold on to reality at this point. And all that is written in novel form. You don't really get to see that in film. When you write your descriptions, you're kind of like, oh, Mallory's crying, John's eyes are closed, his breathing is slowed. Maybe you'll have a voiceover, how can I live without my father? So that's pretty much novel writing in my point of view. I know I probably missed a lot of differences between script writing and novel writing, but I'm going to move on to script writing now. It's pretty much the opposite of what I was just talking about. Unless you're creating like an entirely different world using sci-fi, fantasy genres, your descriptions are going to be very limited. I'm not like saying it's like super limited like you would write exterior small town day, cars drive down a two-way main street, character walks on the sidewalk. That's really simple and you don't really get that much information. The directors had nothing to use with that. So you would want to expand it just a little bit and say exterior small town day in this quiet New England town with small business shops opening for the day. A few cars drive through Main Street as character wavers on the sidewalk. The second example I gave was descriptive but concise. I wasn't talking about the businesses that the main character walked by, looking at different shops. I wasn't describing the thoughts. I just described briefly how they were walking, like the waver. So you can kind of understand, okay, this character is going through something. In script writing, we only write what we see. Often it's called show, don't tell. That means in your dialogue, you're not going to write something like this. Hey man, how's life? Oh, you know, I had a horrible morning at the office. The toner broke all over me. That's why I have the stain on my shirt. Oh, that's rough. What are you going to do about it? Oh, I'm going to go home and change my shirt. I hope I can get the stain out. I mean, all that dialogue could have been summed up in a montage of the guy trying to fix the printer and the toner exploding all over him, and then cut to the next scene of him in the bathroom scrubbing out the stain with the water, and then cut to the next scene with him meeting up with his friend who says, hey man, what's up? And the guy goes, just peachy. That whole thing is like the epitome of filmmaking. No one wants to go to a movie and see the whole film get summed up in one scene with like 2 people talking about their lives. When you write your dialogue, you want to give your actors some room to work with. I read a lot of different scripts and the dialogues have been written all differently. When you're like reading a novel, like in Harry Potter, Hagrid's dialogue was written specifically how Hagrid would speak. And it was like not grammatically correct, it wasn't spelled correctly because you needed to know exactly how Hagrid's dialect would be. In screenwriting, you could do that. You could do the southern accent dialect and not write the endings of the words. Or you can just do in parentheses southern accent and then write everything out grammatically correct and leave it up to the actor and the director to decide where the accent is going to be placed. I like to give the actors a chance to, you know, do their job and interpret the script that how they interpret it. And I do know directors have that like mindset as they're reading it. Oh, I kind of wanted them to say it like this instead of like this. As a script supervisor, I'm in charge of making sure the lines are read correctly. So if I find an actor is reading the lines incorrectly every time, but they're remembering that pattern that they're saying the lines, I make a note of it in my script. I change it to the way that the actor's been saying it, and I just let them know, like, hey, you've been saying this wrong, but you've been saying it wrong consistently. So if you want to say it this way, then do it, and don't change it back to the way that the script was written. It helps them a lot because it's easier for them to memorize something that they've been practicing over and over again instead of something that they suddenly need to change. Dialogue is important, but it's not really necessary. You can show a person's day without having them saying anything. You can show a person's history without having them speak a word. With films, everything is very visual. And you want to make sure that a piece of dialogue won't pull the audience away from what's happening on the screen. Since everything is visual in movies, the descriptions of the characters are usually written. Sometimes what they wear is important, or how they walk. Explaining the environment is only really necessary if it helps move the plot along. I want to go back to Harry Potter again and mention, you know, like when Ron and Harry was walking through the Forbidden Forest in the Chamber of Secrets, and like you see all those spiders in the background. I haven't read the script, but I'm pretty sure like it's noted that there are spiders crawling in the background, because, you know, that at the end of that Forbidden Forest when they meet Aragog, all those spiders come down. So it makes sense that you would have a spider crawling in the foreground. It could have been something that wasn't written in the script and then the director made that choice, being like, hey, well, all these spiders are coming out of somewhere, so let's put them in the scene. Oh, and I'm sorry if I spoiled something about Harry Potter, but it's been out for over 10 years now, so if you haven't seen the movie, then that's your problem. The only way you show how a person is feeling in scripts is to show what they look like. So if I were dealing with a great fear of spiders, then you would write, Ron's eyes widen. He is close to tears as his lip quivers. He points towards something behind Harry. Ron, can I scream now? Can you tell I just had a Harry Potter binge? Like I said, script writing is visual storytelling. Everything you write appears on the screen, leaving blocking decisions to the director unless it's absolutely imperative that your character has to pick up a specific cup because something is going to happen with that cup. For example, somebody is waking up in the morning making their coffee, and then somebody had broken into their house, and in order for them to stop them from robbing the place, they throw the coffee cup in their face. In the intruder's face. That's the only way that'll happen, is if you write in the script, oh, character pours himself a cup of coffee, intruder walks in, coffee cup gets thrown into the intruder's face. I think that's pretty much everything. So if you have any questions or suggestions about other topics that you want me to talk about, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you thought about this video, if it's something that you would like to see more. If you like the content that I've been putting out for you guys, please support me on Patreon or Ko-fi. I'm going to put the links in the description of this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.